Hey everybody, Nerdy Transformed here again, and today I am presenting a review of the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Class Breakaway. Now, Breakaway is an interesting figure. As you can see, he follows the normal movie aesthetic of semi-realistic vehicles, or pretty much realistic vehicles just in strange colors. From what I understand this, or from what TF Wiki tells me, this is a F-35 Lightning II or a Joint Strike Fighter. I don't know much about this figure because I got it secondhand, but it is a really cool looking jet. Very smooth looking. It is really broken up, but as far as the actual how it feels, it is very smooth with only a couple exposed parts. And then, of course, the usual thing of with these jet transformers where the bottom side is basically the legs and other parts they couldn't fit into the jet form. But honestly, I kind of expected by now. I mean, there are worse jets that are formed. Much worse. Speaking of which, here he is next to Anime Blitzwing in his jet mode. And here he is next to the Combiner Wars Skydive. So you can see he's about the same size as Skydive, maybe a little bit bigger, but Skydive is a bit bulkier. For another one, let's see. Oh, here we go. Firefly, or Fireflight, whichever you prefer. Kind of a similar thing as Skydive. And just to make him feel puny, here he is next to Silverbolt, who's much bigger and much bulkier. So let's get Blitzwing out of the way. He'll probably be next week. Don't worry, Blitzwing, you'll have your review soon. He does do a really funny thing where I know a lot of car transformers have this, where the head is visible from like the car seat or something, but I'm not sure I've ever seen a jet transformer that's done this. To the point that you can even open up the cockpit and his head's just staring at you. Don't sit on my face, boy. I will bite you. Don't sit on my face. You got me? You got me? Good. His head kind of looks like a skull, actually. He's suffocating. But yeah, overall, pretty nice little jet mode. Nice little wings. One thing with this toy is that these wings and these tail pieces, not the ones back here, but these right here, are only pegged in. So those are the pieces you'll likely lose if you're buying this used, but I'm pretty sure you'll tell that pieces are missing. You can just look at it and tell, no, the toy's complete, I swear. No, shh. I believe he was repainted as, what was it? Thrust. I think he was actually, or retooled, remodeled, whatever. He was remaking the Thrust into the Revenge of the Fallen line, or some other Dark of the Moon one. I think Air Raid? I don't know. He was remade to other ones, that kind of thing. But I kind of wanted to see what the original model was like. And he's got these kind of tan colors. He's got like the desert camouflage. And then he has this weird blue and green, but we'll see more of that in the robot mode. For overall, the plain mode, it's mostly like these desert maroons and browns and a little bit of green for like camouflage effect. It looks nice. It's not bad. One thing to watch out for, though, is the tip of this nose, because how it transforms, is a little loose. So it kind of looks like it had a bad landing, like... And he also has a landing gear that does roll. My god, we have not seen rolling landing gear in so long. I'm looking at you, Silverbolt. And of course, it can go up this way, or it can go up this way, whichever you prefer. Well, works better this way, but, And that helps him stand. He also has wheels in what will be his legs. Speaking of which, for transformation, you're going to take the landing gear, push it in. This one's a bit interesting. You're going to come back here and unpeg the legs from basically the plane. This piece will kind of come with the legs, so you're going to bend it upwards so it doesn't interfere with these parts up here. Then you're just going to kind of grab the bottom and the top and start pulling them apart. What you're going to have to do is it's actually going to come in 3 pieces, because these wings come on this little U-shaped piece here. And you're going to start pulling that at first. Then you can go ahead and grab the part where the arms are, or what will be arms. Start pulling the whole thing up. Then this piece always has to be above it, so you got to kind of keep moving this piece up and then this piece until you get to about this, at this angle. And that's where it'll stop. Take the cone from the cone and just kind of, it's on 2 hinges, they'll just kind of push down like that. For the feet, as you can see, these are the heels right here, and you'll just kind of flip the feet out like this, and you would want to flip it until you can't push any further and push the heels back, and now give the heel something to sit against on this blue part up here. Then the feet actually come forward on a hinge to kind of give them this weird angle. You have to balance it out with the knees. So there's his legs. For the arms, you're going to come up here and split them. How they split is you can see the Gatling gun thing here will stick to his right arm. And it only comes off on his right arm. It's actually attached to it. And you'll split the arms. And you can see how far they split. And you're just going to bring them down. Then this piece that was the tail piece will come up and actually lock onto this little tab here and this little tab that's kind of movable here. And it'll just kind of click in place. Then you're going to take his wing bits, bring them down a bit on this hinge, flip the wings to where they're pointing upward, and bring the tail fins up to where they're pointing forward. To where it kind of looks like a jet just kind of crashed on top of them. And there you have... Oh wait, one more thing for his transformation. The official transformation does have you open up the cockpit and kind of situation kind of like that, right above his head. To where it's kind of just opened enough for his head to stick out, which is kind of a cool effect. And there is Breakaway in his robot mode. Let's see, for some size comparisons, once again we have Skydive, who looks taller at the head, but if you count the kind of bulk that Breakaway has coming off of him, he's basically the same height. Here's Scrapnel, who's about half his height. And just for a more modern movie figure, here he is next to the Age of Extinction Hotshot or Crosshairs, if you prefer. So, there's all of them together. Let's get them out of the way. You too, Scrapnel. I know, you're awesome. Oh, and Scrapnel fell over. It's not so awesome. Okay, let's get a closer look. The colors, for the most part, are about the same. They just have a lot more blue and green exposed, mostly around the joints. The green really is just on the joints. I have no idea why they have this weird green. It just looks so out of place. I do like the blue. The tealish blue does work well. It's just the green that really doesn't work for me as far as the color scheme goes. There is a lot of new parts. Of course, up here is mostly just the jet cable kind of looks like it just crashed on him. But we do get to see the arms now, with quite a bit of detail in them, actually. We do now have the legs and the crotch, and even the chest has a bit of detail there. And those feet where he has toes, 4 toes. Looks a little creepy, actually. But it is rather unique for a jet transformer. He does not look like he doesn't look like an aerial bot. He doesn't look like a seeker. He kind of has his own thing going here, which is actually kind of unique, really cool for once. He's not a conehead, you know. I mean, he does have the cockpit for the chest, sort of, but his head's more of the cockpit while the cone is his chest. So it's definitely unique from all the other kind of plane transformers. And he has a lot of interesting joints. First off, he does have, instead of accessory, he has sort of a gimmick. Where you see, we saw this before in his vehicle mode, he had this little thing here. Now we can see it's kind of like a chain gun, Gatling gun, minigun, whatever you want to call it. And there's actually a blue piece up here that's attached to it, to where when you rotate it, it of course rotates like he's shooting it. So you can actually have him in pose and just... Not the best gimmick in the world, but nothing that really interferes with anything else. And it's enough play, it's got some play value to it. It's a nice little gimmick. It works. He does have the silver Autobot Simple Tambode right there. And of course, as I mentioned, he has a face skull face. Skeletor here. What the heck happened to me? Why am I part flying thing? I do kind of like how the back looks. It really does look like a jet, just kind of like he used spare parts from a jet, just decided to keep the rest of the parts. It does look really cool. It does give him a hunched over look in order to keep his balance. It's probably why it has all those weird joints. Is like he's kind of got the chicken feet thing going on, kind of like Starscream. And that's just after I mentioned how he's so unique. Well, articulation-wise, his head has nothing, mostly because it's just kind of buried in there. Shoulder, he does have a ball joint. He has a universal hinge and swivel, but you know it goes all the way around if you can get it past the kibble, and arm goes up to 90 degrees. Same with the elbow, no ball joints, universal joints. You can actually see the joint moving right there in the shoulder, which is kind of cool. And of course, he has an elbow, and he does have hand movement. And unlike every the other ones that have this is not for transformation. He actually just has hand articulation just to have it. So you can actually kind of make some motions like he's talking. He does have a waist swivel, but since this piece back here, the tail piece, is attached to the lower part, It does mean you have to unclip it or to use it, but he does have a waist joint. I'm not sure what you could do with this. I guess you could like kind of tripod him with it and then use the waist swivel. Which doesn't look bad either, I mean, it's not that noticeable. So however you want to do with that. He does have a ball jointed leg, but because of how he's molded, it doesn't go out far unless you bring it up first and point out, and even then it still gets stuck. So maybe you want to shave that down or shave this part down. But it does go forward fine, goes back fine. Damn, something's wrong with my eye. Ugh. Hinged knee, which goes, I'd say that like 75 degrees, something like that. I'm not sure. But enough that, you know, it's usable. It's not horrible. And also this piece on it moves. I'm not sure why, but it does. So I guess you could kind of use it as like a jet, like he's flying. Like you could say that's how he's taking off. Which could be good for a flying pose. So he does have those joints there. Like I mentioned before, he has a hinge here. And he actually has ankle pivot. I mean, from his transformation, he already has ankle tilt. And 2 different joints that can be used as ankle tilt. But he actually has an extra hinge that's not from transformation to give him a pivot. It's a little awkward to work with, but once you get it right, it is usable to get his legs apart. It just has like this inward movement like he's about to pee himself. But you can use it to get his legs splayed. So you can get him into a pretty nice little pose. I'm going to call that a nice pose. But he is a rather unique figure. Not the best in the line, but I like him because this is one thing I get like out of movie toys. You're going to get something unique. Every line has its unique figures, and this is just one of the really interesting ones. He is really quirky, but he's not like Revenge of the Fallen RC quirky. Just has all the basic stuff you want a figure to have, but not in the ways you would expect it, if that makes sense. And it's just a really cool little figure, just a unique one. And since there are 2 other repaints, I'm sure there are remolds. I'm sure there's a version that you'll probably find that you'll like. And like I said, no accessories, but he does have the gun gimmick. He is really cool. He works as an Autobot for me. So yeah, that's Revenge of the Fallen Breakaway. A fun little figure that's kind of just fun to mess around with. And an interesting one from the Revenge of the Fallen line. A lot more interesting than the movie, at least. So yeah, that's Breakaway. I'm Nerdy Transformed. I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you get a version of this figure. And I hope you have a nice day. Take care.